Corey in the small blind.
And he does not, and everybody folds back. And everyone folds.
Yeah.
Everyone
Wendy's going to get a walk and win the pot.
And Wendy gets, I believe, she's gotten the 2 walks that we've had so far at this main event final table. Still our chip leader in her quest to win her first HPT main event title and her quest to eclipse 1 million in career tournament earnings. As I said, we had 3 players here who could have done that today. 2 of them have already bowed out, falling short. Shawn Roberts needed just 5th place to hit that number, but he finished in 7th and winds up about 12,000 short. And Rich Alsop, our 8th place finisher, could have gotten there as well. He would have needed to have gotten 3rd, the same position as Wendy needs coming into today, but he also fell victim. In fact, Wendy was the one who eliminated him, flopping her flush draw against top pair and then getting there on the turn.
Paul's going to fold in, and Wendy's going to take down the pot.
Raise and take it for Wendy. Back-to-back pots. Can't move all in on Paul now anymore like she used to be able to do when he was shorter, stacked.
Those are big blind. Mark's going to be first back in the 2C. Paul's going to make the call, and Alex is going to check his option. Going to be heads up. Let's see.
Paul limps in, and Alex checks his option here. Blind versus blind.
Top is King of Hearts, 3 of Spades, Jack of Spades.
King
Paul's
3,
first
Jack
back.
on the flop.
Paul's going to bet 85,000 over to Alex.
Paul bets 85,000, just over the
Alex
minimum.
going to make the call, 85,000.
Alex decides he wants to come along.
Turn card is the 4 of Hearts. Paul is first.
4 of hearts on the turn.
Paul checks over to Alex. Alex checks as well. Both players check the turn. Let's see the river card.
And both players check that card. We'll now head to the river and offsuit 6.
Both players check the river. Let's see the winner.
And
Also,
both players check
spades,
the
eight
end.
diamonds. Alex shows 3 of clubs, 2 of clubs for a pair of 3s, and is going to take down the pot.
And Alex flopping bottom pair there is going to take that one down. Gets the option with the 3 deuce in the big blind and is able to make something out of it.
4.4.
$80,000 are big line over to Wendy in the 5-6.
Raise.
Wendy's going to raise
185.
to 185,185 over to Paul.
Wendy makes it 185,000 to go.
Paul folds, Alex folds over to Mark. Mark folds as well, and Wendy's going to take down the pot.
And Wendy will raise and take there.
13. 13. 1-3.
$80,000 is our big blind. Fold around 2, Mark in the small blind. And Mark's going to make the call. Option 2, Corey in the big blind.
Mark and Corey look to be dueling here again.
And Corey's going to check his option. It'll be heads up. Let's see the flop.
Mark limps in here, and Corey will check the
Love
option.
to check with clubs. 5 clubs, deuce of hearts.
Jack 5
Mark's
deuce.
first.
Couple of clubs.
Mark's going to bet 125,125. Over to Corey.
Mark leads for 125K.
Corey's going to fold, and Mark's going to take down the pot.
Corey lets it go, and Mark will scoop the chips and stay over 4 million. As you see, Corey now our short stack, significantly so. Under $1 million.
I was hoping to come over the top there. I just had a jack.
I had a pair.
I should have check jammed.
Call. 80,000 is our big blind. Now he's going to make the call.
How about a limp here?
Corey in the small blind.
There will be no more limping, though. As Corey looks down at pocket kings. How does Corey try to play this? He obviously wants to double up with his hand. How does he make that happen?
On.
He decides just to stuff it all in there.
When he folds, action's over to Alex.
Back to Alex,
Corey's all in out of the 3 seat.
who's got his cards a little bit off center out of our reader box there. He wants a full count, and he's going to get it. 880 is our reset number, correct?
What is it?
880.
880,000 is the
880 is in fact correct.
For Corey, 880,000. Actually, certainly on Alex.
Remember, Alex limped here.
Corey's all amount is 880,000.
So he might have been looking to induce something, but the shove wasn't what he was hoping for. And Corey's friends are pleased with that result. Mark's going to open the spot for 180,000.
When he folds over to Paul on the big blind. Action fold around, and Mark's going to take down the pot.
Oh.
About 26 minutes, just over 26 minutes.
Mark with the raise and take there.
Player's next break will be at the end of this level.
We're giving away over $500,000 at this final table in total through all the 9 spots. We've given away about 80,000 of it. Obviously, it's bigger. It's going to be up top. A third of it, in fact, is going to be at the very top. With the first place prize over $167,000. Raise and take there for Wendy. As you see, you'll open up your range when you get down short-handed. 8-7 offsuit. Especially when you're the chip leader, as Wendy Freeman has for virtually the entirety of this final table. She was surpassed by Mark for a brief moment after she doubled up a short stack, but quickly regained her edge and has increased it. Someone needs to close the door there. Well, I guess they left it. Well, they probably left it open to help warm the place up, because that was a very cold room just over an hour ago when I went in there. And once again, Corey with a big pocket pair here, hoping for some good juju.
All in.
And Paul has moved all in over the top with Ace King, so we're going to get the classic race here. Oh, goodness, Alex got pocket tens. Is shaking his head like, oh, crap. Oh, my goodness, what a situation we're in here. Paul has gone over the top, and he would be putting Alex all in there if he made this call, and Alex says no to the pocket tens. And he's going to be very happy when he sees what Corey's about to call with here. Mark let go of a pocket pair himself. He had pocket threes. What a hand. Jacks, 3 pocket pairs, and an ace-king offsuit. And Corey makes the call.
Paul shows ace-king, ace of diamonds, king of spades. Corey shows pocket jack.
You know they're coming, right?
Oh yeah.
Wendy was the only one who didn't have a hand. I believe she had the 9-4 off.
Paul has ace of diamonds, king of spades.
It is Corey, though, who is at risk for his tournament life here with the pocket jacks that is currently in the lead. And here we go. 7, 8, 9.
Corey's still in the lead with his jacks.
So the pocket tens of Alex are looking pretty. Oh, and there it is. There's the 6 that would have given Alex the straight. And a huge triple up, but it's not going to happen. But now it's Corey who is the one we're concerned about. He needs to avoid an ace, a king, or a 5 would chop the pot. There is a 6, and Corey Zito doubles up to the delight of his fan base. And once again, Paul Richardson finds himself on the short stack. Ace King has not been good at this final table. We've had like 3 or 4 of them go all in here in these situations, and it has not worked out for him, I don't think, once. Oh, Corey Zito.
Yeah.
Pocket threes. 8, 9, 10.
Thanks for folding.
1.085.
1,085,000 is the precise all in.
85,000. 1,085,000. And a double up for Corey.
Win some, you lose some. Roller coaster.
Yeah.
50-50. That was 50-50.
The short stack always wins.
Yeah. So I'm in good shape.
22 minutes left at this level.
Very nice.
Had kings when you flatted, when you limped. That was the first limp, I think, the whole day.
A very pretty hand. Rough shape.
Raise 185.
Wendy's going to open this one up for 185K with a suited ace.
First action is going to raise to 185,185.
Alex still stewing over what might have been that last hand. His pocket tens would have turned to straight, and he would have probably been over 4 million in chips. And would have laddered up. Knocked out a player. As you see, Wendy Freeman almost at 6 million now in chips, almost 40% of the chips in play. Could not be more impressed with the way she has played in this final table. Not that I expected anything less from her, dealing to her for several years on the tournament circuit.
He's going to raise
240.
to 240,000.
Corey with one of the bigger raises we've seen here pre-flop. He triples it up.
240,000 current bet, and Wendy's going to make the call. 240 and the call going to be heads up.
And Wendy defends with her offsuit one gapper and smashes the flop right in the face. The flop has a bloody nose, 2 knocked out teeth, and perhaps a fractured orbital bone. Corey it might not be possible for him to be in worse shape than he is right now. And Wendy fires out 400,000 into a pot that was only 520K, a pretty big bet. And Wendy is now over 6 million chips, almost 6.25 in fact. 76 big blinds out of the 186 big blinds that are currently on this table. Looking for her first
This is going to be first actor in the United States.
HPT tournament title. Looking for 1 million in career tournament earnings. In fact, if she wins, she'll be at 1.1 million in career tournament earnings. This will be her 4th major tour title as well.
No. I was going to call.
Oh goodness! Oh goodness! Oh goodness!
Nice first walk you've given them all night.
Amazing.
First walk she gives them all day. She's on several occasions when they've been blind versus blind has just shoved to put them all in, and the one time she lets it go is the one time Paul has aces.
Just aces.
Someone get Paul a vomit bucket, please. Vomit bucket, seat 8. Goodness gracious me.
Actions on Corey, the 3 seed is going to raise
180.
to 180,180. Full round, see Alex in the big blind. 180,000 in the current bet.
Alex, the one opening up. Alex has not had a good session here. He was 3.1 million plus entering since at the break, and has lost more than half of that since. But hits the flop here. And Corey shrewdly checks behind there with his pocket nines. Maybe a little bit scared by the fact that neither player had a spade. Might have caused him to slow down a little bit, but I'm actually kind of surprised that Alex checked that flop.
Alex is gonna bet. 300,000 over to Corey. 300,000 is the current bet.
300K. Alex just bet about a quarter of his stack. So you imagine that Corey would have to take that one seriously. Again, remember, he was the pre-flop raiser there. You see on the left-hand side of your screen. Can he find the fold button here? Would be a tough one given that Alex did not lead on that flop where with only one overcard to his pocket nines. Of course, the problem for Corey is that if he is behind.
All in.
Oh, wow.
All in. Corey's going to re-raise all in. Action's back to Alex.
Corey shoves all in. Huge, huge move. And you saw him recheck his hole cards there, which will definitely give Alex cause that he may have at least a spade. Does ace-queen make sense? Probably not. So Alex may be thinking, I might have the best hand right now, but my draws to a better hand are very small. And I could be crushed in some ways. And yeah, he's wondering why he didn't bet the flop. That's what I would be wondering too at this point. Did Corey raise with pocket sixes and hit something? Hit his miracle turn card? Did I step in a big pile of something here? Remember, Alex would have to go all in order to make this call.
6-7.
Yeah, as just asked about 6-7. That would be a possibility as well. What could he have that beats me is the question that he is trying to answer in his own mind. He lets it go, and Corey, a bold move with the worst hand, comes through. And now we have two players under 1 million in chips at this final table, with blinds of 40 and 80K.
I believe him.
Wendy says she believes
Really
him.
good hand. Bet flop, I just shoved.
Raise 175.
Corey's going to raise to 175,000.
Corey opens his pot for 175,000.
gonna make the call, 175,000 air call over the call. Paul folds. Over to Alex in the small blind.
So Wendy make the call there of Corey's raise. Now does Alex want to come along as well?
Alex folds over to Mark. Mark's gonna fold and we're gonna be heads up.
Alex and Mark lets it go. And Corey and Wendy will duel here. They haven't actually dueled a whole lot, even though they've been next to each other for a good portion of this final table. In fact, the space between them was occupied by our first eliminated player, Carl Oman, who left us in 9th place within the first 20 minutes or so of our final table here this afternoon. Corey leads out, and that's plenty.
Wendy folds and Corey's gonna take down the pot.
Eddie folded.
You got a big pair.
Alex.
The one time I don't call, I get there. I queen 5.
All right, about 10 minutes left at this level, 40,000, 80,000.
Yeah, you can't
For the 40,000 big blind A.
9 times out of 10 the queen gets there. You have ace queen.
Wendy's going to be first stacked in the 5 seats. 80,000 is our big blind. Actions pulled around to Mark in the small blind. Mark's going to raise
180,000.
to 185,000.
Apologies. 210.
210. 210. 210,000 is the raise by Mark. 210. Over to Corey.
Raise was 210,000 actually, which is a new number as well.
And Corey's going to make the call.
And it will be
210,000 and a call. Going to be heads up.
Corey and Mark butting heads once again.
It is 6 of hearts, 5 of hearts.
6-5 queen with a couple of hearts.
First stack. Mark's going to bet
200.
200,000 over to Corey. Corey's going to fold and Mark's going to take down the pot. Got about 8 minutes left at this level.
Bet there from Corey, or from Mark I should say, is good enough.
Hold right on to Mark on the button.
Mark with a button raise here for 200K.
200,000 total bet.
And Wendy will defend her big blind. These are our two big stacks now. One of their few rare times butting heads. And hello, big time flop. King, queen, queen. It could be ugly. There could be blood.
Mark's going to bet 200,000. Actions back to Wendy.
I fold.
Wendy says fold, and Mark's going to take down
But-
the pot.
Then again,
Good hand. I don't like it.
Wendy says she didn't like it.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, Mark.
Okay.
Now it's going to be first actor in the 19th. Pull it around to Corian button.
All in.
Raise.
Over Wendy in the small blind. She's going to move all in.
Wendy moves all in this time. Paul hoping for aces once again.
On the big blind. Wendy's all in.
Call.
And he does call.
Call shows pocket kings.
That's just as good. Pocket kings.
Yeah.
We said had the same 6 cents.
This time Wendy had queen 3 offsuit when she shoved from the small blind into Paul's big blind last orbit, and Paul turned over aces. Or she folded, I should say. This time she shoves with the queen 8, but it's pocket kings this time for Paul, so he couldn't have asked for 2 better opportunities to double through the chip leader here. And he fades that flop very nicely. Only a running straight possibility, or a queen right now, is what he's worried about. And that gets rid of that. He is 3 outs away from doubling up and getting back in this, and that's the wrong card to pair if you're Wendy.
Paul's going to double up with 2 pairs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not quite true, but it feels that way.
650.
650,000 is the all amount.
So he will double up 650K there.
And a double up.
And keep hanging around and keep anyone from laddering up here at this final table here. The Manchester native, and I say Manchester is in
Staying alive.
Manchester, England. Traveled across the pond several years ago, and now lives out in California.
Oh,
Sorry, guys.
It's alright, nobody's watching.
Not me.
Fifth place finisher will make 35,000 and change. 47 plus for fourth place. Almost 68,000 for third. 102K for fourth, and for second, I should say, and 167,696 is our first place prize here this afternoon and evening. Thank you all for tuning in here on our Twitch stream here as we hit 4 o'clock, top of the hour local time. Just about ready to finish up with our second session here at this final table. And this time it is Paul's turn to shove into the short stacked big blind, and he succeeds. And it's a second session that Alex Greenblatt probably can't wait to get over. Very little has gone right for him these last hour and 50 plus minutes. Let's see, he has seen his stack chopped by better than 75%. Now he's just hoping to survive.
Pull it around and pull on the button.
And it'll be folded to Alex here in his small blind.
All in.
And he decides to make the move. And Mark snap calls.
Mark shows pocket queens.
He's shoved into pocket queens. He does have 2 good cards though, King Jack.
you're good at these.
Tournament life is at risk.
But his tournament life is at risk, and what a mind-numbing 2 hours this would be if he cannot double up here and improve on his king jack offsuit. Well, that'll get on TV in just about any circumstance.
Put a 2 out there.
Flops a straight draw and a flush draw against top sets. The turn card, oh, that kills it though. A full house now for Mark Morris. And that will send Alex Greenblatt home in 5th place. He will take home $35,362 for his performance here in this event. And a fine title defense for him. I'm going to say a title defense from a seasonal perspective. He won this event at this time last year.
835 was the all amount?
What's that?
For Alex, 835.
But it will be Mark Morris getting, I believe, his first elimination of this final table, if I have that right. And Mark is closing in on 5 million chips himself. I think he might have actually eclipsed it, in fact, and still about $1 million short of Wendy's chip lead, but he is now posing a significant threat chip stack-wise to her.
We talk about the aces with the flapping sets of aces and losing the flushes.
I think we're going to get one more hand in here before the break.
This will probably be the last hand at this level. 30 seconds left. Players will be on a 15-minute break at the end of this level. 80,000 is our big blind. Wendy's first act.
And Wendy's going to
Raise.
try and win this last hand.
Gonna raise to 185,000.
For 185 is going to be the opening amount.
Hold it around to Corey in the big blind one.
Corey thinking about it.
This is the current bet.
An additional buck and a nickel for him if he wants to play this last hand, or if he wants to.
Yes, because I came there once.
No, he decides to let it go. And I
Who's that guy?
think that's going to do it for this session. We've gone from 9 down to 4 in our first 3.5 hours of play. And we'll be back to see the exciting conclusion, perhaps,
To Denver Airport. Is it like Uber?
of our Heartland Poker Tour final table here live
Anyway.
on the Twitch stream in the Golden Gates Casino here in Black Hawk, Colorado.
Yeah.
15-minute break. We'll see you then.
40,000 with a 50,000.
All right, welcome back to the Heartland Poker Tour main event final table. Here live on the Twitch stream from the Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlour. And they spell it L-O-U-R, which is so very chic. Never been to a poker parlor before. But we are here looking to give out our next main event championship title. And the $167,000 plus that goes with it, as well as the accompanying Player of the Year points, so crucial as we head down the home stretch of this 2018 HPT season.
First action. 100,000 is our big blind.
We have 4 players left vying for that title. Mark Morris, you see on the button there, just folded. He is our chip leader as we resume play here, just by a smidge, $5,565,000. Corey Zito, who is going to be raising here to $300K this hand, $2,450,000. Wendy Freeman has been our chip leader for the majority of the day, $5,395,000. So she's just a couple of big blinds behind Mark for the chip lead, who had Corey had pocket jacks there and took it down. And last man, not least, Paul Richardson, who has miracled his way to a couple of ladder ups here, as he's been down under 10 big blinds on a couple of occasions, but has hit the double ups he's needed to. He is at 1.46 million. We have just under 15 million chips on the table and just under 150 big blinds on the table, as we are now at the 100,000 blind level. And the big blind ante of 50K.
Pull around the Wendy in the small blind. Pull it around. And Paul's going to get a walk and win the pot.
Just talking to my buddy Ryan on break.
For sure.
Fellow WSOP big time dealer, and has also worked on our events here in the HPT on many an occasion. See, Paul got a walk there after just doubling up in a blind versus blind hand versus Wendy a little while ago. We just had Alex Greenblatt finish in 5th place before we went on break. Alex with every poker player's worst nightmare. You come back, you start a final table, you know, 3rd in chips, you move your stack up about 33% for in the first session.
Goes all in. Over to Mark. Mark folds, and Paul's going to take down the pot.
Move me up to 2nd in chips, in fact, in that session. Things are all going swimmingly, and then 2 hours later, not even 2 hours later, you hit the rail. And Alex, in fact, almost took his microphone, final table microphone, and his electronics equipment with him here for that we hook all the players up with. Had to come back and turn that in when we were on break. But congratulations to Alex on his 5th place finish, the defending champion in this season's event. And his 4th HPT final table is a good one, $35,362.
Going to be first action to raise. 245,245.
Slid down the proverbial cliff on the mudslide there that last session, and certainly wasn't one of the sequence of events that he was hoping to have here. Action's on Corey now from the big blind. And he's taking a second look. We've had the whole cards. We've not had the whole cards. It's been a nightmare day for our technical crew, as is far too often the case. You go through all the and look at Corey here, putting out the 3-bet. 825,000. Action back to Wendy now, who was our initial raiser.
Wendy folds, action's back to Mark.
She lets it go.
Mark's gonna fold and Corey's
And Mark's going to let it go as well.
Thank you.
And Corey with a nice spot there. As I was saying, our tech crew went through all the preliminary checks. We got everything hooked up yesterday. Things seem to be going smoothly. Come back today and we've got problems and we think we got them fixed and we didn't have them fixed and then they got unfixed and they broke again and we fixed them and they broke again and we fixed them and they broke again and
You can toss it now.
it's been a very crappy day as far as that goes. I know they're still working hard trying to do everything that we can, everything that they can to get that technology back up and working.
Corey's gonna make the call option.
Corey's going to limp here, blind versus blind against Wendy. She's having none of that.
Wendy's gonna raise total bet 350,350.
Makes it the old Loch Ness Monster. Need about 350.
Corey's gonna fold it and Wendy's gonna take down
Corey
the pot.
says no, and Wendy will add 100K to her stack. Again, because we were using the big blind ante. So Wendy was the only person to have anteed there that hand.
Action pull around the Wendy in the small blind. Wendy says all in.
Wendy is going to move all in. It's not exactly a small amount of chips that Paul has in front of him here.
Paul's gonna fold and Wendy's gonna take down the pot.
But Wendy is going to take it down.
I was expecting to see a big hand there.
We're
I
down
was
to,
expecting to see a big hand.
as I said, we're down to 149 big blinds on this table here. And more than 2/3 of them are concentrated in 2-player stacks. Mark and Wendy. As they're now jostling for the chip lead. But Corey won himself a big hand there a little while ago in his big blind. And now looks to get a little bit more as he's made it a quarter. Those quarter. No, it's 225. Okay. Thought it was 2.5, but either way, it works out for Corey.
Corey's gonna take down the pot.
Each of these players guaranteed a better than a 2,500% return on their investment right now. Just over 47K for 4th place. And Wendy will be first to act on this hand.
I know where we are.
Wendy's gonna raise. To 245,245.
245K.
Hold around the Corey in the big blind. 245,000 is the current bet.
Gets 2 folds, but it doesn't look like it'll be 3. Well, Corey's going to check one more time. Oh, 3 betting chips. Hello.
Corey's gonna re-raise.
This was the same number, I believe you made it.
825,000.
825,000.
Corey, 825. Actually, back to Wendy.
It's like it's lunchtime there. For
One sec, please.
Wendy says all in, and Corey makes the call. Oh goodness.
Wendy shows pocket eights.
Oh, a misstep here for Wendy. She shoves with pocket eights and lands right in the lap of pocket aces here. Corey Zito, a huge opportunity here to double through and perhaps take the chip lead. He's going to be very close to it. Just a little short though. But either way, what a moment this is for him at this final table. Oh my goodness. A full house on the flop for Wendy Friedman.
A full house here. Let's see the turn card.
Oh.
Turn card is the queen of clubs.
2 aces left.
Full house here. Eights full of sixes.
The only thing that will help Corey right now from a disgusting finish at this HPT final table. The river, another queen, and it's a better full house now for Wendy Freeman. Corey Zito. A very, very disheartening 4th place finish for him. He leaves with $47,247.
I was pulling for you.
I bet you were.
And that's certainly good news, as you heard there from Paul Richardson, as he's sitting there with about 12 big blinds, and he just made, at the bare minimum, an additional $20,000.
Mostly had really good timing today, I'll say that.
2.8.
2.8 was the total amount?
2.890. Yeah, or 2.8. Yeah, that's fine.
2.890 was.
Wendy adds almost $3 million in chips to her stack with that hand, and regains her chip lead in dramatic fashion.
Against those kings was a great.
496 down our final 3. Corey did lose in 4th place. That was good for just over 47,247. 3rd place is that. Going to pay just over 67,000. Second 102, and first.
Tell you what, there has been some heartbreak at this final table today.
All right, one big blind this hand, Wendy will be the
Rich Alsop's elimination was hard to take. Alex Greenblatt's not his elimination as much as it was his fall from
our final 3. Paul's going to be first
down the mudslide there, as I said earlier.
that small blind.
He just plummeted before crashing and burning. And I guess the 35,000. He said he wanted to buy a new car with his winnings here. And I guess that'll go a long way to that. But I know he was hoping to do a lot better. 2 hours and change to go, but. Is this Wendy Freeman's tournament? She has been on an absolute tear since we got down to about 12 players or so, and has been in the chip lead pretty much throughout this final table and just reestablished it in earnest with that elimination of Corey Zito just a moment ago. Yeah. Wendy says all in. Once again, could we be at heads-up play here momentarily? Paul lets it go, and Wendy will stack some more chips. We saw the fan base there thin out with Corey's elimination. He had a lot of support here, including including a couple people who had just gotten lunch, so they got to move their lunch downstairs. I will say this about the casinos here in the Blackhawk area. As good a prices as you will see on food just about at any casino. Sister property here across the street, Mardi Gras, as well as the Ameristar property, the lodge, I know is also across the street, where they've actually put us up here for this for the final table crew. A lot of good. They are Alan Kessler approved food prices. Let me put it that way. In a way that I think a lot of our fans and viewers would be able to appreciate.
175,175. Mark folds in.
Wendy gets the C-bet through, and goodness, she's got to be closing in on $9 million in chips right now. definitely over half of the chips at this final table. Just under 15 million total in play. And it's looking more and more like we're going to be getting a Wendy versus Mark heads-up battle. And Paul still has something to say about it here, obviously, but these were actually the top two players as far as chip stacks when play began. Wendy and Mark, that is. And Paul is wondering if this is the moment. He's just going to make a raise here, actually, to 300K, and Mark with a quick call. And is Wendy going to try and help tag team? Yes, could it be a 2-on-1 situation here against the short stack? Again, it was a 20K ladder up from 4th to 3rd. It's about a 35K ladder up from 3rd to 2nd. So while it's not necessarily, obviously, direct collusion, it behooved both of them to do this, although they did check it to Paul, and he's going to go all in, but it is Wendy who makes the call here, and Paul's pocket jacks, I believe, were outflopped here. Wendy with a super free roll at this point, as she also has a jack, which eliminates one of Paul's outs and maxes out and eliminates the straight draw possibilities that Paul might have. And she also has a club as well, and there is the jack of clubs, the one out. Oh my goodness! Unbelievable. The one out on the turn.
Case jack.
I can barely talk straight here. Absolutely incredible.
960,000 as Paul's all in the mouth.
And Paul once again.
And a double up for Paul.
It's like the lava is coming down the mountain, and Paul just keeps hopping from one rock to another.
Yeah, whew, I was in trouble.
And she had the club on the redraw. She still had a straight flush draw there.
I'm sorry. Pesky.
So pesky.
The man from Manchester proving to be quite the cockroach here at this final table. And doubles up now to about 2.5 million. A little more, actually. Might be about 2.6.
And Paul's going to make the call. 275,000 in a call, going to be heads up. All right, let's see the flop.
That hand has caused quite a stir here on my personal social media feed. Wendy with the open out of the big blind there against Paul. And she continues here on that flop for $250,000. I still can't believe that Jack on the turn. I was busy trying to count through all the permutations with chop outs and whatnot, and how in good a shape Wendy was. Even if a club came, of course, it was that club that came, the jack of clubs.
The 1 hour to stay alive.
And that, I mean, that
To
just,
win the pot.
ugh. And yeah, to win the pot outright. Of course, Wendy's not going to let that phase her. She knows that she's still got, first of all, she's still got the chip lead. You got a ton of big blinds to work with, about 70 or so. And as we've said throughout the broadcast here today, plenty of experience to be able to handle the swings
Let's see the flop.
and the ebbs and flows of a final table.
Flop is 9 of diamonds, 5 of spades, 6 of hearts. Paul's first hand.
Coming off her third circuit ring
Mark checks as well. Both players check the flop. Let's see the turn.
6 months ago.
Turn card is the ace of clubs. Paul is first.
This time it's the two gents.
Paul's going to bet 150,000, 150 over to Mark. Mark's going to make the call. 150 in the call. Let's see the river card.
Mark calls Paul's bet on the turn, and the board pairs on the end.
Paul is first. Paul checks over to Mark.
Paul's going to check this time, and Mark is going to throw a couple of chips together. $500,000?
600,000.
No, it's 600,000 actually, excuse me. One extra chip there on top. And Paul quickly folds. And Mark takes it down.
Good flop, huh? Good flop.
I'm sure that
Good flop.
when Paul gets the chance, if he has it on his phone, he will download his one-outer on the Share My Pair app. Available in both the Apple Store and Google Play. You can even put an HPT tabletop as your default setting. And you can send any such hands to HPT Poker or post it to Twitter and tag HPT Updates. Or I'm sure Dan is feverishly working to inform everyone about the ultimate suck out that Paul just committed.
All in.
What he says, all in.
All in from Wendy. Not just defending against Paul's open, but slamming the door in his face. Paul had a decision like this that he took a lot of time with and seemed to be really close about with before. And he ultimately laid it down, said it was real close. And he does so again here.
Wendy's going to take down the pot.
Undaunted, Wendy Freeman continues on her journey to what she hopes to be her first ever HPT main event title.
Mark's going to be first back on the button. Gonna raise to 275,275.
Looking through the bios here, in addition to a top 3 finish and nearly 400,000, we're now now over 400,000 with his, regardless of what he finishes with today. Paul Richardson has a PhD in chemistry.
He's gonna re-raise to 925,925.
And Wendy with the 3-bet here
And Wendy's gonna take down the pot.
is going to scoop this one. She's played well, and she got a little bit of luck, obviously a lot of bit of luck, with her pocket 8s out flopping Corey Zito's pocket aces. And a incredible, I mean, what a couple of hands we have had here since we have resumed play. Pocket 8s eliminating pocket aces for about 20% of the chips in play. And then the jacks sucking out against the queen jack on a queen 8-10 flop.
All in.
Paulie says all in. Mark Paul.
Paul goes all in response to Wendy's raise.
Wendy's asked for a count.
And Wendy wants to know a precise amount. He didn't even complete it, and she decides to put out a call.
Oh, Jesus.
1.8 and change is what he's on for. We'll get the exact count.
Ooh, ace-7 versus
All right,
pocket
Wendy's got
7s.
Seven of spades.
Ace-7 suited, though.
All right, Wendy has ace of spades, 7 of spades. Paul has pocket 7s.
That's why Wendy grimaced when
All right, Paul's currently in the lead here, but it's tournament live.
you saw those cards flipped over. She only has 1 out to the pocket pair. But she does have the 2 spades. Jack 10-10
10 of clubs.
enacts the counterfeit possibility here for Paul. If a jack comes, his pocket pair becomes null and void. Oh, geez, another case card for Paul. And to add insult to injury or injury to injury,
Paul's indestructible.
Oh my God.
Wendy gets the ace on the end that is meaningless. Good God.
It's been holding over me all day.
Absolutely incredible.
70 is the all-in amount. 1,870,000 is Paul's all-in amount.
The moment I said it looked like we were headed for a Wendy versus Mark showdown is exactly when Paul started getting hit in the face with the deck. And on the turn every time. Absolutely incredible. What an amazing game this can be sometimes. And the crazy part is, if my math is correct here, Wendy still is not only the chip leader, but has more than she did when we came back from break. Basically, all of Corey Zito's chips now have found their way over to Paul Richardson. Paul almost at 4 million in chips. Wendy should be around 6, or maybe a little bit under. And Mark should have about 5.5. If my
275,275 mark.
math is correct here. Maybe a little less.
Wendy's going to make the call, 275.
Wendy's going to call. Paul's open to 275. Defending her blind, and there's the ace, 10 tray, 2 hearts.
Paul's going to bet 250,250.
$250,000 now on the continuation from Paul.
Wendy's going to make the call, 250.
Wendy wants to see a turn.
Turn card. Turn card is a 7 of spades.
No, 7 on the turn again.
Wendy's first.
That can't be good news for Wendy, given the recent history. She checks again, though.
Paul checks as well.
And Paul checks behind. So Likely no ace for Paul then. And does Wendy try to take the spot here?
Wendy's gonna bet.
She puts out a big old stack of green.
Listen.
And we're not even going to get counted down before Paul lays it down. It's been the 450 to 500K range. And Wendy fights right back. Has played well, has gotten some breaks, and has stared adversity in the face, undaunted.
Mark's first is gonna raise at 325,325. But he folds over to Paul. Paul's gonna fold and
Wendy became our last woman standing in this tournament, actually, before we even hit the money. I think that was around about 75 players left.
Wendy's first action, she's gonna raise the 225,000 over to Paul. Paul's gonna re-raise.
A 3-bet coming here from Paul
750,000 is the re-raise amount by Paul. 750.
of Wendy's Open.
And Paul's gonna take down the pot.
And Paul's going to get that one through. Still buzzing on the stream about the
Make the call option to Wendy.
goings on
Can we heads up? Let's see the flop.
here since we've resumed play after the last break.
Ace of spades, ace
Limp
card,
pot
four
this
spades.
time. We got an ace-ace-4 flop.
Mark is first.
And Mark's going to fire.
Gonna bet 125,000, 125 over to
Buck and a
Wendy.
quarter. I'd say back when my dad grew up in Massachusetts, and Wendy will
See the turn card?
play along for right now.
Diamonds.
9 of diamonds probably doesn't change a whole lot. And now it's going to be Wendy's turn to fire a barrel.
Wendy's gonna bet 275,000, 275.
2 3/4. And now it's Mark's turn to come along.
275 and a call.
This will be an interesting river here, given that we've got the spade draw. It does not come.
Mark checks over to Wendy.
Both players check.
Wendy checks as well. Mark shows king 9. King of diamonds, man of clubs for 2.
Mark shows king 9. She hit that turn card, the one I thought was useless, and is able to extract a little bit of extra money out of the chip leader.
Don't worry about it, that's fine. That's good, don't worry about it. That's fine.
When he makes a call, option to Paul in the big blind. And Paul checks his option. Maybe heads up, let's see the flop. Flop is queen of clubs, 5 of clubs, 10 of clubs.
Another limped flop here. We get a queen 10-5.
That's 100,000 over to Paul.
And a min bet now from Wendy.
Paul's going to fold and Wendy's going to take down the pot.
I think we've seen more limps here three-handed than we had in the
About 24 minutes left at this level.
previous positions here with 4 through 9 players left. Just over halfway through this level of 500 and 100,000 blinds.
Fold it around and Mark's going to get a walk and win the pot.
First time Mark's gotten a walk here today at this final table. Not sure what Fetch Brewing is, but I'm sure it's something local. Got a lot of local small businesses around these parts.
Paul's going to be first back on the button. Over to Mark on the small line. He's going to raise to 350,000. Over to Wendy.
Mark with kind of an unusual bet size. It's got Wendy looking kind of oblong at him here. He's raised to 350,000. It's much bigger than what the standard pre-flop action has been at this final table.
And Wendy's going to make the call.
And Wendy's going to come along. We'll see what's going on.
Heads up. Let's see the flop.
And Paul's looking on with great interest.
Flop is 4 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, 6 of clubs. Mark
It's
first.
the Omaha 8 flop.
Check over to Wendy. Wendy checks as well. Both players check the
That
flop.
neither player seems to be interested in.
Turn card is
Board
4 of
pairs. Club draw.
Bet 200,000 over to Wendy.
Mark tosses 2 white chips in worth 100K apiece.
Wendy makes a call, 200,000.
Wendy
Make the call.
does in
Red
kind.
card. Red card is
And
queen
there's
of
the
clubs,
flush
200,000
on the end. And Mark checked very quickly.
700,000.
700,000 is the announced.
Wendy
Mark makes the
announces
call.
700,000,
Wendy
a
shows
snap
5
call.
Diamonds, use the diamonds for the 6 high straights.
Goodness gracious, Wendy flopped straight.
700,000 was the river bet.
Hold on, wait, let him show his hand first.
You don't have to.
Well, I mean, or do something with it.
Oh.
Push the button, wait for the lights.
I see, I see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like he had to flip his
He still had
card.
cards. He still had cards in there.
What
I lost
a
the man.
flop for
Yeah, I
Wendy
guess you did.
Freeman. 5 deuce of diamonds, and the flop comes 6-4-3, and then she max values it,
I don't-
probably on the end there.
I wish I had known. I didn't. I can't see your cards.
I had an overpair with a gutter ball to a higher straight. I had 7s.
Wow.
Wow. Mark claiming pocket 7s right there, which means
Mark's going to be first back on the button.
he might have gotten, might have lost a lot more chips in that hand.
Mark's going to raise to 250,000, 250.
6-4-3 flop, pocket 7s against 5 deuce. That could have really been nasty.
Paul's going to make the call. 250 and a call.
Wendy said she wishes she would have known. $250,000 put into this pot from each player pre-flop, and there's the
Ace of hearts.
ace
Paul's
10
first back.
deuce.
Checks the Mark.
Couple of clubs there as well.
Mark's going to bet 300,000 over to Paul.
I'm not sure if Mark fell behind Paul after that hand, but they look to be a lot more even in chip stacks than they were about 10 minutes ago.
Paul's going to fold and Mark's going to take down the
Paul
pot.
folds to Mark's flop bet.
2-5 and flop the nuts. Second hands.
Pretty decent flop.
Yes, it was.
Again, we're playing 50 and 100,000 blinds with a big blind ante in effect.
225, right?
225.
We're down to 3 players, so we're using only 50,000 for the big blind ante. Cut it in half. We get down under 6 players at the final table. 225 went in pre from both Mark and Wendy here. And will Wendy continue? No, she decides to check behind. 4 of diamonds. Mark will check a second time. I don't think Wendy will let that go unchallenged. And there's a snap fold from Mark after Wendy dropped a couple chips in, and she will continue her climb. 2, 4, 7, almost 8 million now in chips for Wendy Freeman. More than half of the chips in play. I think it might be over 8 million now as I take another look at that overhead shot. I think I missed a couple of red stacks behind. Red chips 5,000, as we mentioned. Turquoise 25,000. White chips 100,000. And players have dialed it down here considerably in terms of pre-flop raising. There was hardly any limping at all. And Wendy respects that near pot size bet there on the flop.
Just over 17 minutes left at this level.
Again, Mark and Paul look to be very close chip stack wise now.
Our first act is going to raise to 275,275.
In fact, Paul might even be ahead of Mark at this point. We have to get a better eyeball on Paul's chip stack. It's been the Mark and Wendy show here the last few hands.
Wendy's going to re-raise.
And there's a 3-bet from Wendy now.
To 875,000.
875,000.
How much is it?
875.
And Mark's thinking about it. Yeah. Re-raise all in. 4-bet jam for Mark. And Wendy quickly lays it down. Big move there from Mark. Gets him a nice little pot. Wendy's open for 225 here on the button, and now Paul giving some contemplation before letting go of his small blind, and it's going to be Wendy and Mark once again.
Heads up. Let's see the flop. Flop is 6 of spades.
3 spades, and the faded spade logo correctly turned right side up. Very nicely done by our dealer.
Wendy's gonna bet 200,000. Mark makes a call, 200.
Mark check calls 200K, and we will see another black card, but this time it's a club. And Wendy faced with another decision again. This time she will check behind. 4th spade on the end, and quickly Mark reaches for chips and fires 400K, and Wendy wrinkles her nose at that decision and situation. Sways back and forth before letting him go. And Mark takes it down. So again, for those of you just tuning in, we've had a kind of a nightmare day with our graphics machine, our card reading program. I don't know if the technical crew is taking it back behind the casino for the office space treatment, or if we've given up on it for the day, or if we're still working to try and fix the problems that we have. But it is not been fun.
275. You're gonna walk on this one too.
275. Mark bolts, and Wendy's gonna make the call. 275 and a call.
This time it'll be Wendy and Paul heads up for 275K a piece. And we get a rainbow. 940 king.
Wendy checks over to Paul.
Wendy gives Paul a good look before wrapping the table.
275.
Paul's going to reprise his pre-flop bet. Wendy declines to proceed.
And Paul's going to take down the pot.
Probably that's what.
We have just about $335,000 left of our prize pool to pay out. The prize pool, it was over 700K. Another quality field here at Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlor in Black Hawk, Colorado. 729K is actually kind of low end for for the fields that we often get here. It's down to Paul Richardson, Wendy Freeman, and Mark Morris to decide who will be our next HPT main event champion.
Paul's going to hold, and Wendy's going to take down the pot.
Paul Richardson making his first HPT final table and looking for his first major tour big-time first-place finish. He's made some circuit final tables, but hasn't broken through with a championship. His biggest cash coming actually at the final table at Thunder Valley, representing about 15% of his total career earnings. He made just over 57K for that finish. Wendy Freeman, 143 cashes, but no six-figure score yet on her resume. So surviving to second place will ensure that. And she already has, and we'd like to congratulate her. We've been mentioning it throughout the broadcast, but now that it's happened, I still am, I guess, was still blown away by the way that she got there. Her pocket eights cracking Corey Zito's pocket aces pre-flop. But with that elimination of Corey and now ensured of a third place finish, Wendy Friedman has reached $1 million in career tournament earnings. Guaranteed 67,000, just under 68,000 for this finish here today, and she came into the day with 936,878. So that'll put her at $1,004,000. Of course, she's looking to add a little bit more to that total. Could be over 1.1 million by the time the day is done.
Mark's first act, he's going to raise to 300,000. When he folds over to Paul. Fold around, and Mark's going to take down the pot.
Mark with the raise and take there.
Really?
Go so fast.
Don't forget about our final two events here on the 2018 HPT tournament schedule. All the information can be found at hptpoker.com. In a few weeks we'll be at Daytona Racing and Kennel and Card Club for our annual event down there. We'll actually be finishing up right before Florida Georgia week. And we will actually be finishing up on Florida Georgia weekend. The main event is going to be Florida Georgia weekend, which is a huge time down there. For those not familiar, that is the annual border rivalry in college football between the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs. Setting up to be another smashing for UGA this year. Georgia, one of the top programs in the country right now.
Wendy folds, and we're going to be heads up. Let's see the river card. River card is a 7 of spades.
Florida trying to build their program back together. We got rid of the three-handed action as Wendy bowed out there on the turn. And now Mark's turn to fire the river. And he's going to be making a pretty sizable bet. That $750,000 I see there? 850, one extra white chip. 850,000 on the end, which is about a third of Paul's remaining stack, and he makes the call.
50 in a call, Mark shows. King of diamonds, 3 of hearts.
Mark shows king 3.
Paul shows king of hearts, jack of jacks, and is going to take down the pot.
For a pair of 3s, Paul with the king jack, though, has the higher pair. You saw Mark check. On the flop there. And then had to hit his card on the turn that kept him around. And very well played by Paul, and I believe he is now moved into second place in this three-handed battle for HPT glory and supremacy. Looks like he's got about $4 3/4 million there sitting right now. They're going to put those newly won chips to use. Raise and take for him.
Thanks, everybody.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. I'm not bad.
Can I take a water, please? Great, thank you. Thanks. I'm okay. Thanks.
Of course, after our Daytona event, we'll have our season-ending championship event at the Ameristar Casino East Chicago. $2,500 main event.
He's gonna raise it to $275,000.
Anticipated prize pool over $1 million. We also have a 7-game mixed event. We've got our seniors championship event. We've got our $500 heads-up event. Lots of goings on. Another got a high roller $1,100 event. I want to say we're doing there as well. So plenty of things going on there
Three of hearts, 5 of diamonds, 6 of
to
clubs.
satisfy virtually all poker desires. And we're looking
Checks over Mark.
forward to next year, 2019. We're looking to possibly incorporate some short deck poker, which seems to be gaining steam among the high rollers and the top pros. Much in the way that the in the Big Blind Ante did, in terms of that being kind of the place where that format first came to prominence and has now been almost universally accepted throughout the poker community as a way to do your tournaments.
Paul's gonna fold.
And Paul's going to fold to Mark's bet there.
Got about 3 minutes left.
And we're almost done with this level.
50,000, 100,000.
And we'll be going up, and we've got about, like I said, we got about 49 big blinds on the table. The next increase is going to knock that down about, I'm going to say about 30%, maybe a little less. Yeah, probably closer to 25% actually. But all three of these players right now are standing pretty good in relation to the blinds. Oh! Could it be?
Paul's gonna make the call. Option to Mark in the big blind.
Well, credit to our technical crew there. They have been hard at work.
375.
I've been hearing some of the curse words
75,375. Action's back to Paul.
that have been emanating from the production area of them trying to make this technology happen. And Mark with the option raise there takes that hand down. Just in time for the blind increase, guys. Hope you maybe they're just still testing it because those chip counts look a little old. God bless them. They're trying their damnedest.
Paul's gonna be first act.
At least we can get the cards anyway, even if the chip counts aren't 100% correct. No, we're working on those too. Look at this crew.
75,275. Over to Mark.
275 is the open from Paul with a suited ace, an unsuited better ace for Mark. And he's got 3 betting chips in hand.
Mark's gonna re-raise
At 900?
to 900,000.
Yep, 900K. Wendy gets out of the way.
900,000 is the current bet.
Does Paul want to see a flop here for a quarter of his stack with the suited ace? Does he want to shove over the top? Or does he want to lay it down? He lays it down. Okay.
Yeah, looks like we're gonna get one more hand at this level.
And we'll be getting one more hand in at 50 and 100K with the big blind ante of 50,000. And then we'll be moving on up. 6120 will be the next iteration of the structure.
Action, pull it around, and Paul's gonna get a walk. And win the pot.
And Paul will get a walk on the final hand there, and so we are now down
60,000, 120,000. With a 60,000.
to about 123 big blinds left on the table.
60,000. Big blind hand.
And Wendy Freeman there, our chip leader, still. Gonna do a quick eyeball here. And looks like she's about 3-2 over both her competitors. Looks like just over 6 to about 4.5 apiece on either side of her there. I think with that last pot that he won heads up, Mark's got a little bit of an advantage over Paul. A couple 100,000 or so.
6120.
First hand of 60 and 120 poker.
First Zach turn button.
Thank you.
120,000 is our big blind.
Very nice first hand of the level for Wendy Freeman. King, queen, suited. She is a chip leader, but she has almost no white chips. That's
Raise
interesting.
285,000.
I imagine we'll get that straightened out once things get heads up. Of course, provided that she's part of that. That seemed not to be in question a little while ago, but Paul Richardson has since almost tripled up from where he was. And he's still sitting here with an ace. And has 3 betting chips in hand. 850 is what we're looking at here.
885,000 is the re-raise.
885 is the precise amount. Mark lets go of his big blind, and now, what does Wendy do? I don't think that
Action's back to Paul.
she has shown absolutely no fear. Not that I expected her to, but it has been an impressive performance of putting everyone to the test. And Paul now, still with almost 30 big blinds behind, has to decide if he wants to put that all at risk for an unsuited middle ace. And he does not. Wendy has done this a couple of times here today and has done so with the worst hand and gotten her opponents to fold better hands. Pressure, power, poker from Wendy Freeman. Just gone through with our research team and confirmed that we are 5 years removed from our last female main event champion. And it was actually right here in Blackhawk. Back in 2013, Teresa Hemingway was victorious, taking down the title of the year. That was back though when we were only doing 6-handed final tables.
Up is 8 of spades, 7 of diamonds, 6 of hearts. Marcus first, checks to Wendy. Wendy checks as well. Both players check the flop. Let's see the turn. Turn card is the ace of clubs. Marcus first.
So all sorts of history.
Works for about 250,000, 250.
I mean, I probably would have been more aggressive with this hand, but I just thought I was going to get there.
Wendy's going to fold and Mark's going to take down the pot.
I was alright with the approach that you took.
Huh?
I was alright with the approach that you took. That worked for me.
Usually I would have played that faster.
Okay, is that Wendy?
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I'll give you.
Do you need a...
Yeah, I'll give you some.
Wait, you want...
Let's give it a stack.
Yeah, stack of
Stack
something.
of green.
I don't know why that's confusing. There you go.
Sending our research department back to work here.
And then 60, right?
I can't imagine we've had too many female main event champions. Not because, obviously, women can't play, but because of the simple math of the proportion of players that we've had enter, men versus women. We get a 500 player field like we had here at this event. You might get a total of 50 women
Wendy in the small blind. She's going to raise
if you're lucky.
to 340,340 over to Paul.
Wendy opening for $340K from the small blind. Paul looked like he was thinking about something there for a minute, and now has decided on a call.
340,000 in a call. All right, going to be heads up. Let's see the flop. Flop is ace of diamonds, 10 of hearts.
Ace 10-3. Looks like Wendy has flopped middle pair. No reason for her not to continue when she does. At 405? No, 330. Okay. 330. Back to Paul, who's got the mystery hand here at the moment. But the fact that he's staying around on that raggedy dry board has to give Wendy some concern.
Let's see the turn card. Turn card's the jack of diamonds. Wendy's first. Checks over to Paul.
This time she'll slow it down a little bit. And Paul is counting out white chips. 6 of them, it looks like.
600,000.
Yep.
Back to Wendy.
Back to Wendy now, who saw her middle pair just become third pair, and her kicker stink, and her draw's gone, and she announces a fold.
That's a big fold.
Yeah, a good hand.
Paul Richardson from Manchester, England originally, in case you noticed an accent there. Fan of the Sky Blues. Manchester City, Premier League team. Excellent start to the season for them. 5 wins, 1 draw in 6 games. Tied for second with Chelsea behind Liverpool in the standings.
Paul's going to make a call option. See, working the big blind is going to check his option, and we're going to be heads up.
Limped pot here between 2 trash hands that are still trash.
King of clubs.
But Mark does have the best of it.
Paul checks over to Mark. Mark checks as well. Both players check the flop. Let's see the turn. Turn card is the king of hearts. Paul is first.
Well, if Paul's going to make a stab, now would probably be the time. He's betting with 4 high. What is he doing, right?
Paul's going to bet 375,000. Mark folds.
Insta-fold for Mark, and Paul's going to win it with the 4 high. That's why you bet it. When you're 3-handed, and you think your opponent has nothing because they've shown no strength, checking their option and checking the flop is all part of The magic of short-handed poker. This time Paul has a real hand. And we'll be putting additional chips into the middle here. Kojak is worth 300 and what? 315. 3 and 3 nickels. And Wendy's gonna call with the one gap offsuit. The old Persian carpet 9-7, and it is a good flop for Paul. Couple of spades though, so he probably isn't going to want to slow play this, and he does in fact add 300,000 more. Wendy with the swing and a miss, and Paul wins that hand, and Paul catching up now to Wendy for the overall chip lead, just over $1 million behind. And Wendy, it looks like, has dipped below 6 million chips for the first time in a long time.
$325 is the raise by Mark.
Mark opens for 3 1/4 here with a monstrosity, but can't get any action on it.
First match is going to raise.
Wendy opens from the button and is about to get 3-bet by Paul.
Paul's going to re-raise.
850 is going to be the total, and Mark quickly gets out of the way. Wendy will follow suit here pretty soon. Yep, there it is, and all of a sudden this trio has become very compact. Less than $1 million separating all 3 players now.
Really good today. Hitting 11, 7, 4, 92.
And she's pulled it around. Wendy's going to walk away in the pot.
Wendy takes a walk there.
About 45 minutes left at this level.
I'd like to thank the following folks at Faded Spade
Players remain here at HPT mini event.
for providing us with our final table cards.
Just almost 68,000. Second place just over 102, and first place just over 100.
Faded Spade is the evolution of the playing card in the poker world. 100% plastic cards that have gone through hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of research to balance thickness, flexibility, quality, and durability. And they have
And Paul's going to make the call, 325.
Now added poker size, bridge size, and 4-color decks to their line of products.
Jack of diamonds, deuce of diamonds, 8 of spades.
20% off your order at fadedspade.com when you use the code HPT at checkout.
Checks over to Mark.
Could have been exciting here with these two closely placed stacks,
About 350,000,
each with pocket pairs, but that flop is not likely to generate such excitement. Although Paul is going to see another card.
50 and a call. Let's see the turn card.
Not so sure about that one by Paul, as if he hits
Turn card is 8 of diamonds.
his 3, and it's a diamond, that puts the flush draw out there. Now we've got a closed 3, pair of 8s on the board, and the flush draw coming through. Paul decides not to bet that. Mark checks quickly behind,
Turn card is the queen of spades.
and Mark is going to win this hand unless Paul somehow bets him off it. I can't see with this run on how Paul would be induced to bet.
Paul shows pocket 3s for 2 pair 8s and 3s. Mark shows pocket 9s for 2 pair 9s and 8s.
I think Paul lost the minimum there.
Listen.
And Mark is closing in on Wendy's chip lead now. In fact, may have him. Maybe not.
Depends. Give them again. Let's try to see what we do the next time. Please. Thank you. All right, I guess.
And I'm trying to eyeball. It looks like he may have about 5 million. Looks like just under 5 for Paul now. Wendy's still hanging on by a thread to that chip lead. Wendy button raises with the ace. And Paul's got pocket 6s in the small blind.
Wendy's going to raise the 280,000, 280 over to Paul.
And Mark's got the pocket 3s this time. So will there be fireworks here and now? 2 pocket pairs and an ace. Well, here's something.
Paul's going to re-raise.
Paul with the re-raise to 850.
850,000, 850 over to Mark.
Mark's going to let his pocket 3s go, it looks like. Yep, there they go.
850,000 is the current bet.
She's thinking about it.
Wendy's going to make the call.
That's going to be a call. It's a 500K stack. I'm not so sure about this one, Wendy.
How much more? 70? Yeah. Okay.
All right, 850 and a call.
Wendy,
That's up. Let's see the flop.
2-to-1 dog here as we go to the flop.
Flop is 10 of hearts. Queen of hearts, 4 of spades.
And that's not very much help. Paul's still in the lead with his pocket 6s, but there are 2 overcards on board now. Let's see what he has as far as c-betting chops. Nothing there, though. He checks.
$800.
800,000 from Wendy Friedman.
800,000. Action back to Paul.
Absolutely fearless, as she has been throughout the entire final table. Boy, a check shove here out of position by Paul would be all stones.
Nice one.
He does not, though. And Wendy takes it down and moves back over the 6 million chip mark. She wasn't under it for long and regains her chip lead on top of it. Big, big pot right there.
Paul's going to raise from 315,315. Over to Mark.
Paul with the open, but he's not going to like what Mark's about to do.
Mark's going to re-raise. 1,350,000, 1.350. One default section back to Paul. 1.350 is the current bet. Paul's going to fold, and Mark's going to take down the pot.
And Mark. The ebbs and flows and twos and fros of short-handed final table tournament poker. You try and make some standard plays, and someone else makes other standard plays, and all of a sudden your standard doesn't look so hot anymore.
Mark's first act is going to raise to 325,325.
And then you're like, where did a third of my chips go? Mark with the ace on the button, raising it up.
Cool.
And Paul with the suited king is going to continue.
25,000 and a call. Going to be heads up. Let's see the flop. Flop is down to clubs, 8 of clubs.
That's a pretty good flop for Paul. In fact, he takes the lead, as you can see there on your screen, which is unusual when you're behind. Both players quickly check. And Paul has just clinched the hand. You wonder if Mark thinks his ace high is worth anything right now. But he really hit nothing on that board, and he does let it go. And Paul's disappointed he wasn't able to get any more money out of his opponent there. Should be a raise and take for Paul here. No, he just limps here. Looking to do some trapping with the king-queen offsuit. And then that's what happens. Your opponent's still a 2-to-1 dog, but he's got the better drawing hand. He's not going to fold to whatever Paul bets here, I don't think.
150 over to Mark. And Mark's going to make the call, 150. And the call. Let's see the turn card. Turn card is the jack of clubs. Paul's going to be first.
Now Paul's got another straight draw of his own right here. And he is going to fire another barrel.
Paul's going to bet. 475,475.
And this one's got some sting to it. Over 3/4 of the pot. Making it tough for Mark to continue here, that's for sure.
Mark's gonna fold and Paul's
Mark
gonna
lets
take
it
the
go, and Paul's going to take it down.
Mark's gonna make the call. Options. See Wendy in the big blind.
Couple of unsuited jacks in the blinds here. Wendy's going to get a little froggy with the Choctaw nuts.
Total bet 400,000. Mark's gonna fold. And
400K, and Mark says, get me out of here. Three-handed action continues here at the Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlor, Blackhawk, Colorado. Mark Morris, Wendy Freeman, Paul Richardson.
Mark's gonna raise this.
Mano a mano a mano. It's been a very interesting and entertaining
Call over to Paul.
duel here over the last hour or so.
Cool.
We have been three-handed,
The call as well.
and we're going to get three-way action here. Mark's ace is best on the flop.
Checks over Paul. Paul checks to Mark.
Paul also hit his hand as well, but
Mark's
not
gonna
as
bet
well.
300,000. Actions back to Wendy. Wendy makes the call.
Wendy with the straight draw makes the call. And Paul's got to be wondering, okay, what are my chances here? He does let it go.
We're gonna be heads up. Let's see the turn. Turn card is a nine of diamonds.
Oof.
He's gonna be
I
first.
thought for a moment we might have had something.
Checks to Mark. Mark checks as well. Both players check the
Both
turn.
players checked the
Let's see
turn
river
now.
card. River card is the six of clubs.
And there
He's gonna be first.
is, that sound you hear is Paul kicking himself under the table.
Check.
Because he would have gotten to see the river for free,
Mark's gonna bet 300,000. Actions back to Wendy.
and he would have hit his six a second time. Really wouldn't have been an outrageous call, certainly.
And Wendy's gonna make the call. Mark shows. Ace of diamonds, three of spades for two pair aces.
And Wendy paid him off there. I guess you just wanted to see that one.
Nice one. That was a good size bet.
Can't really. I mean, if you have anything, you have to call.
Yeah, I called with queen high. Could be good, I don't know.
That would be anything.
Yes, that would be anything.
I don't like to fold though.
Really? Over the course of the last 2 days, I would never have guessed that.
It was a good size bet.
I believe that pot gave Mark the chip lead back. It's either been him or Wendy for the entirety of this final table, actually. And Paul making
See Mark in the big blind. Gonna raise.
an ill-advised limp.
Total bet 400, 20,000 for me.
And Mark just tossed 300K on top with his suited ace king.
Paul's gonna fold and Mark's gonna
Paul
take down the
says no thank you.
Just under 30 minutes left at this level.
About halfway through the 6120 level here. And we will go down to 30-minute blinds once we get to heads-up play. Although no one here really seems to want to leave. Why would you when you've got 167,000 and change up top for first place? Good opening hand for Paul. We'll see more chips going in the middle here. The only question will be if Wendy has something to defend with.
Mark folds over to Wendy.
Uh,
Wendy's gonna make a call, 315.
unsuited one-gapper, I guess.
Call, gonna be heads up. Let's see the flop.
She says she doesn't like to fold, right?
Probably check the spades, not hard
And doesn't get anything there.
Wendy checks over to Paul. Paul checks as well.
Both players check. Interesting that Paul checked behind there. And Wendy, who I'm sure would have folded just about any bet there on the flop, now takes the lead on the turn. Well, as you can see, Paul has plenty of outs to work with.
Paul's gonna bet 375,000.
375 from Paul. I don't think that'll be enough to get Wendy off for 6. And there is the call.
375. And the call. See the river card. River card is the use of hearts.
Big old fat nothing on the end there. As blanky as blank can get. Does Paul have another barrel in him? No, he checks behind, and Wendy will take down this pot. And now she and Mark are running neck and neck. For the chip lead. In fact, she might have just edged ahead of him there. Our research department is still working, as we've been, I've been putting them to good use. And a little bit of shame on me for not being a little bit more on the ball on this myself, but we have confirmed that Wendy Freeman is trying to become the first female main event champion on the HPT in 5 years. We found one other female main event champ. We're trying to look for more, but it looks like we might be able to count the number of women breaking through to the winner's circle on one hand here. And Wendy is looking to join that company. Paul with the suited queen here in the big blind. Again, has about 20 bigs behind here. I think shoving would be a little bit ambitious, but it might be what he needs to do to get Wendy off the hand pre-flop. I think a 3-bet could very easily more lead to a 4-bet shove. He does lay it down.
And Wendy's going to take down the pot.
I wouldn't have liked it, but I wasn't folding.
She said I would have been annoyed, but I wasn't folding. probably thinking the same thing I was. What do you do? Again, this is what a player. Now, I'm
I don't know why I haven't
not
seen
a
it.
player with 143 cashes like Wendy Freeman, but that's the things you got to think about.
Played the last time badly, so.
Happens.
What are you
Hard
going
to
to do if?
Perfect for a full day.
What are you going to do next? You know, if your opponent does this, if he checks, if he bets, if he raises, if he folds, what is going to happen on the next street? Wendy was already thinking about that. Would have been annoyed, but she would have called. And we have matching black 10-9 offsuits here for Mark and Wendy.
And Mark's going to make the call. 285.
And it's always fun to see who gets who off of what, how things play out.
King of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 5 of
And
hearts.
again, Wendy is in position here, so she has the advantage to c-bet this flop that hit neither of them.
Wendy's going to bet.
And she uses that advantage to her advantage.
Mark folds, and Wendy's going to take down the pot.
And Wendy will increase her chip lead and move back over the 7 million chip mark.
23 minutes.
I think she had it over 9 million earlier.
At the end of this ball. Or heads up play, whichever comes first.
Dropped down under 6, but has now regained her status at the top of the leaderboard.
Gonna raise to 385,000.
Ooh, Mark with the raise with King Jack, and Wendy's got Ace King behind. And she's gathering out lots of white chips for a re-raise.
Wendy's gonna re-raise. Total bet.
1,115,000.
1.115.
How many times have I raised your big blind? Once.
Wendy's thinking, so what does that tell you, Mark?
She's gonna fold, and Wendy's
You haven't raised my big blind a lot, and I have 3 bets. So what does that tell you? Shout out to our apparel sponsors, the folks over at Razor Clothing and at Spades Sunshades. Both offering discounts with the HPT code at their respective checkout locations. That's at razorclothing.com and spadessunshades.com.
Mark's gonna raise to 300,000. Wendy calls over the ball. 300,000 total bet. And Paul's gonna fold. Yeah, we're gonna be heads
Wendy
up.
defends her small blind against Mark's button raise. She's got the pocket 4s that have served Paul well
Up to 7 of
at
diamonds,
this
10
final
clubs,
table.
10 of spades. Wendy's gonna be first act and checks over to Mark. Mark checks as well. Both players check the flop.
Both players check that somewhat dicey flop, and oh, Wendy just won the whole hand. Now the question is, can she get any money out of Mark?
Wendy's gonna bet 400,000. Action.
She bet half the pot there, so I don't know.
Mark folds, and Wendy's gonna take down the pot.
A little bit of a mini rush here for Wendy at this 3-handed final table. She's played well. She's gotten lucky a couple of times. But it hasn't been outrageous suckouts.
Wendy's gonna be first act on the button.
Or let me rephrase that. Outrageously unreasonable plays that resulted in suckouts. Say pocket 8s cracking pocket aces for 20% of the chips is definitely a suckout, but
raise on a small blind of 350,350. Over to Mark, and Mark's going to make the call, 350. And the call. And he heads up.
Paul with a little ambitious move with 10-5 suited there.
Flop is deuce of diamonds, eight of spades,
Does not pay off on that flop.
Paul is first act.
But he is the aggressor after this flop here, so yeah, I was about to say he might be reaching for chips. And hoping that his opponent hasn't hit any of that raggedy garbage.
Paul's going to bet 450,000.
450. That's a big chunk of his stack. About 25% of it. And Mark respects the bet sizing there and lays it down.
Alright, I'm done calling. No more calling and folding.
Mark getting a little frustrated with his own play there.
I should have just shoved that hand free.
Looks like Mark will be first to act here because Paul's going to get rid of this 9-3 pretty quickly. And a limp, though, this time for Mark with his ace, and Wendy checks behind.
Flop is seven of spades, queen of spades, nine of diamonds. Mark
And it'll be tough to get Wendy to fold this flop.
Mark's going to bet 225,000.
225 going in from two players.
225 and a call. Let's do the turn card. Turn card is the six of clubs. Mark checks to Wendy.
And now Wendy is up and down with her straight draws. And despite having Jack high, as you see on your screen, still just a 2-to-1 dog. And hello, pot-sized bet.
700,000 actions back to Mark. Mark folds and Wendy's going to
Mark lets it go, and Wendy takes it down.
About 17 minutes left at this level. Still 60,000, 120,000 with a 60,000 big blind hand.
Wendy now back over 8 million in chips. She has had a very nice 20 minutes or so here.
Paul's going to get a walk and win the pot.
I haven't been right since that one time.
I appreciate it.
Pay it forward.
Is it 285?
285 is the raise by Wendy. Yeah, Mark's going to make the call. 285 and a call. All right, give me heads up. Let's see the flop.
Mark and Wendy this time.
Flop is jack of diamonds, seven of spades.
And once
Eight of
again,
diamonds. Mark is first.
Wendy's middling cards outflop Mark's ace deuce.
Wendy checks
It's
the
almost an
bubble,
identical
checks the
hand
flop,
to what we just had. And Wendy completes the straight on the turn.
225.
225,000 is the bet. Mark folds. And
But
Wendy
once again,
takes
when
it
she
on
hits
the
her
flop.
hand,
So many aces when you raise. Never anything comes.
Mark is unable to pay her off. matching offsuit black 8-6s for the two gentlemen here. Mark's going to let his go. He's had some offsuit aces that have not worked out well for him lately, so might be a little bit frustrated there. And Paul's going to wind up getting that through. I think if it had been 20 minutes ago, I think Mark might have called. Although he did say he was getting tired of calling and then folding, so. And if he wasn't going to 3-bet, maybe he decided he was going to let it go now.
Fold it around. And Paul's going to get a walk in the pot.
Walk for Paul this time as he tries to claw his way back to the 3 million chip mark. Wendy with a couple suited cards is gonna
Wendy's first back. She's gonna raise.
Open from the button to 280.
Hold it around, man.
And that's gonna be good enough.
Paul folds over to Mark. Mark's going to make a call option to Wendy in the big blind. She checks her option. And
Mark's in a bad way here as he limps in from the small blind. But does flop a straight draw. And by leading at this pot, he might get Wendy, who has a whole lot of nothing, to lay down her hand.
I'm supposed to raise.
Wendy's going to fold and Mark's going to take down the pot.
I was supposed to raise.
Pre-flop?
No,
Oh, there.
there. I didn't want to.
A little.
Getting tired.
Did you play Friday too, or just Saturday? Or did you? How many bowls did you play? Did you get through one bullet?
I played on
How long's the break?
Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, 15.
I was wondering why I was
Yeah,
so
have to make a
confused.
call.
No, Saturday. When did we play? We played Sunday.
We played on Sunday.
Yeah.
Change my flight.
Every day other than the one that I said.
United.
Wendy sitting with a suited ace now,
120,000 is a big blind.
and will likely get whatever raise she puts that through.
385,385. Paul's going to fold it, and Wendy's going to take down the pot.
You just played Saturday?
I played Friday. Remember?
Oh, you crippled cord.
Yeah, you got mad at me.
I do remember.
That was funny. You told me I ruined his weekend.
He's a funny kid.
Yeah.
Talking about Cord Garcia, former HPT main event champion who finished 27th here at Blackhawk. Had a couple of our regulars cash in our event here. Ben Keyline, 21st. Zed Corb was 27th. Matt Bond was 28th. Chris Treva was 41st. Matt Livingston, 43rd. And Jake Baumgartner. Min cashing at 53rd means that he, Aaron Johnson, and Osama Estefanos are now within 3 points of each other atop that HPT points race. Osama is still clinging to his lead by a thread, but it's definitely going to come down to these last two events we've got coming up here. Daytona in just over 2 weeks. We start there. And then right after that, we jump straight up to Chicago, East Chicago, for our championship event, where there will be drama. You'll recall last year, it came down to the final event, and Gary Erstein was the points leader and had a couple scenarios where he couldn't win, where some people could catch up to him. One of those people was Ari Engel, but in order for Ari to do it, he had to win the main event in that championship venue in St. Louis. And lo and behold, that's exactly what he did. Wendy better straight draw here that was no good. And she's going to bet again, because that's the only way she can win right now with 7 high. But if Mark didn't believe her with his top pair on the turn, I don't think he'll believe her now. Although that was a flush that came on the turn there. And he does make the call, and a brilliant fish out by Mark there, who did that once before, famously at this final table. Catching his three-handed mate across the way there, Paul Richardson, trying to bluff with king high. Mark called him down with pocket deuces. Obviously an underpair to the board, and it was good. Mark's got his bluff sniffer on pretty well there on the river.
It'll be first act on the button. Our full total to Wendy in the small line.
And it's pretty simple right now. It's about 8 to 5 to 2 million. And oh, we could see some fireworks here. This could be Paul's last stand, because he's going to look down at this pocket pair, see Wendy's raise. And if he 3-bets in any form or fashion, I think Wendy is going to call / shove.
All in.
Paul says all in.
And
Back to Wendy.
there is the shove. Wendy calls quickly, not unexpectedly, and it's ace-queen versus pocket sevens, the classic race. Wendy's had a couple chances to knock out Paul in these kind of situations today and has not been able to do so. Paul's hit some turn cards to survive, but he is in the lead right now. He is still in the lead, and that pair is a good pair for him because it's below his. Wendy needs to hit an ace or a queen or get a club here on the turn for some backdoor outs. Or the king on the turn to get some additional backdoor outs. So now an ace, queen, or 10 will get us to heads-up action and send Paul Richardson out in 3rd place. The river is the queen of hearts, and that is going to do it for Paul Richardson. He stuck around maybe a lot longer than he should have, but he is going to leave here with $67,954. And we are now down to heads-up play, and I would imagine Paul's very happy with a 3rd place finish for his first HPT final table. He will now move over $400,000 in career tournament earnings, but now we are down to the 2 people who were the 2 big stacks when final table play began. Mark Morris and Wendy Freeman will battle it out for the main event tournament championship here at Black Hawk, Colorado's Golden Gates Casino will be back with Heads Up Play in just a moment.
must have taken that sheet. Let's get a quick count again. What's your chip count?
I got 2 million, 3 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 million. 400,000.
I wrote it. Maybe it's on a different sheet. Oh, there we go. 4.4 and 10.47. Chip 4.4 even. To 10.470. Yep. 10.470. Ready? Yep. All right. When I say, let's give our final two players a round of applause. You guys go just standing up and just shaking hands.
During heads up play, the small blind is on the button. 60,000, 120,000 with a 60.
And welcome back to our final table coverage here at the Heartland Poker Tour.
I have money left. I don't. I do.
Thank you, son.
At the Ameristar Casino St. Charles.
Here you go.
What the heck am I saying? St. Charles. I am totally out of whack.
That's fine. Don't,
My phone just completed a complete Fritz thing, and my brain is now freaking out. So anyway, we are at the Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlor in Black Hawk, Colorado. And we have reached heads-up play at our main event final table. Wendy Friedman has already eclipsed $1 million in career tournament earnings with her finish here today. She needed a third place to do that, and she's obviously getting in top two. And she is now looking to become our first HPT main event champion in 5 years. She enters heads-up play against Mark Morris with a chip lead of 5-2. It is 10.47 million to 4.4 million. And she is opening up heads-up play with a raise that Mark calls 280K.
All right, let's see the flop. Club is 10 of hearts, 6 of clubs, ace of clubs. Marcus first act, checks over to Wendy.
205.
About 205,000, 205.
Mark hits middle pair on the flop and fires out 205K.
Let's see the turn card. Turn card.
Excuse me, Wendy bet the 205K and Mark check called. Pardon me. And now with the board pairing on the turn, both players check.
Turn card is the 3 of hearts.
Wendy has 9 high,
Wendy checks as well. Let's see winner.
checks
What's
behind.
the bet?
10 of hearts, 10 of clubs for a pair of 10s and 6s.
I was pretty sure you had me there.
And Mark takes down the first pot of this heads-up battle. Once again, these were
I only
the
bet with the best hand.
first and second players in terms of position
Exactly.
Okay. I'm glad you're an honest poker player.
regarding chip stacks as final table play began.
60 on
Mark's going to be first act on the button.
Call.
Mark says call. Option to Wendy with big blind.
And here we are with them
Let's see a flop.
down at heads-up play. It doesn't always work out this way. In fact, probably doesn't work out this way as often as it should.
Spades, 2 diamonds, Wendy's first act.
But here we are with 1v2.
Mark's going to bet 200,000.
So, there we go. Okay, phone is fixed now. A little bit distracted there. Notes and
Thank you.
stuff and everything was all freaking out over here. We also were running out of time in this level. We started this level with just about 5 minutes left, or started playback with about 5 minutes left in this level, 60 and 120 blinds. And once this level is complete, we will be going to 30-minute blinds for the rest of heads-up play, starting with the 8160 level here, which should be within the next hand or two.
And Wendy's gonna be first actor on the button.
Mark a couple wins here has gotten Wendy back down into 7 figures. Of course, this is bad news for the short stack, even though it's only about 2-to-1 chip disadvantage right now, as we're going to drop from 124 big blinds on the table to 93 big blinds on the table. That means there will be a lot less room for mistakes.
Wendy checks her option.
And we've got almost identical hands here, which of course means that someone's going to flop massively. And there it is. There's the 5 that Mark hits. Wendy drawing almost dead here and will likely fold instantly to this bet.
Wendy's gonna fold and Mark's gonna take down the 5.
And it's Wendy is yet to have a. You see Corey Stewart there, who joined me for the opening of the broadcast today, our marketing director. Getting some final table photos here. It has been a very impressive performance by Wendy Friedman. She started the table as the chip leader, has been the chip leader, I'd say, about 85 to 90% of the time. And when she's lost it, it has been through no fault of her own. And when she has lost it, she's quickly gotten it back.
Wendy folds, Dan Mark's gonna get a walk in with the 5.
You might win every hand heads up.
Yeah, it is 5 for 5 here so far. Mark's going to limp in here with the suited wheel cards. And Wendy outflops him badly. Quick check to the turn, and Wendy chops Mark's outs in half. And that's going to be it. Actually gets Mark's outs flipped. He actually picked up more. Right? Because he had the straight draw there after that 5 came down. No, the 4 came down, I should say. The straight draw with his 5 is what I meant to say. I believe this is going to be the last hand at the 6120 level, if I just heard correctly. And we'll play a little bit higher. Raise from 80 to 280. And here we go, 8160 blinds now with a big blind ante of 80,000 additional. There we go. Still about a 3 to 2, or excuse me, it's about a 2-to-1 chip advantage for Wendy. Mark's raised to 425,000 with a Jack 10 off. Can't imagine Wendy going anywhere there with her suited 1-gapper. And there is the call. Mark hits that flop very hard in comparison to his competitor here, and is going to throw an additional 600 or 700K, it looks like, in there.
700.
It is 700. Can't imagine Wendy continuing with much of anything here. I mean, Looks a little bit exasperated the way things have gone. The first handful of hands and heads up play. He's just like, I want to do something, but I got nothing to do it with. He's got backdoor straight and flush outs. It's not exactly the kind of hands you want to be drawing to as your only draw. And we got to reverse the previous hand as Wendy is going to have the raise and Mark will be defending with his suited 9-7. And another raggedy flop that hits no one, but is likely to result in the pre-flop raiser's favor. Again, no pair, and he's got even fewer backdoor draws than Wendy had the previous hand, and so the back and forth is going to resume. Once again, 2 more events on the HPT calendar before our 2018 schedule closes. We have Daytona Beach coming up next, and then when we hit through to November, we'll be going to Ameristar East Chicago for our championship event, $2,500 main event buy-in. Prize pool for that event should be well over $1 million. We get we've gotten near $1 million a couple of times with 1,650 buy-ins up at East Chicago, so no reason to think that we shouldn't be well over $1 million. Possibly 1.25. Can I hear 1.25, Chicago? Can you get me to 1.25? Of course, personal business to take care of before any of that happens. Next week I am heading to our nation's capital. Watch my Washington Capitals raise a Stanley Cup championship banner to the rafters. First one in the 44-year history of the franchise, now 45-year history of the franchise. Through the magical, mystical, universal, cosmic tapestry, I was blessed and fortunate enough to see them win that championship in Las Vegas. I was up there for the WSOP this summer. And I'm not ashamed to say it, I cried like a 13-year-old girl who was meeting One Direction or something for the first time after it all sunk in. And the team that I had cheered for since I was 5 years old broke through after years and years of heartbreak. A pretty good flop for Wendy here. And she is checked, allowing Mark to hang himself rather brilliantly here. He has fired out a hefty pot-sized bet. And here comes the check raise from Wendy. And Mark groaning audibly as a part of a big Hollywood here. Because if he knew how hard that Wendy hit that flop, he'd be like, oops, I just stepped in it. But a big hand there for Wendy.
No, you shouldn't have. The other time I had top pair. Oh, yeah.
Mark now down under 25 big blinds. And found a horrible hand to have 25 big blinds with. Oh my goodness, look at this setup here for Wendy Friedman.
All in and a call.
Wendy raised to 350. Mark shoved. Wendy snapped.
Eights.
Now, Wendy cracked pocket aces with pocket eights, four-handed, and now heads up. She is looking to have pocket eights not crack her pocket kings here to become our newest HPT main event champion. Oh my goodness, look at that, set over set. I saw the 8 first because when Wendy cracked the aces with her 8s,
Diamond.
her 8 was in a window, or was in the window, I should say. I saw the 8 first in the back door.
Went this way because if I just see the flop, we still get it in.
That's true. This hand
Diamond.
was going all in anyway, and there now is a full house for both players.
King's full here. Mark has 1 out here. The 1 remaining 8.
The 1 remaining 8 in a deck, all that's standing between Wendy Friedman and a main event championship here on the Heartland Poker Tour. It is the ace of clubs, and that will do it for the first time in 5 years. On the HPT, we have a woman main event champion.
I'm glad it came out like that because I would have got it all in on the flop end.
Wendy Friedman leads virtually from wire to wire here at this final table. And momentarily, we will be going down to Jeremy Smith for our heads-up interviews with our final 2 players.
For a minute. Well, let's see if he's ready.
And they're going to take a quick little break here
We're going to do it right after hits.
before we get to that. I think.
Ready? Yep.
I think. There we go.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with our second place finisher, Mark Morris. Now, Mark, tell me about that last hand. That was a big one there.
Well, we got heads up, and she had me outshipped 2.5 to 1, and I thought maybe I could get a double up, just flip that around, and I guess the way it played out didn't really matter because we both flop a set, so it would have played out the same way regardless of whether we get it in pre or get it in post. So I guess I'm kind of glad that happened that way, so I don't feel so bad about getting 8s in pre-flop, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you know, you played great throughout the day. Started second in chips, finishing second. Played great. You're still leaving with $102,000 in cash.
It's pretty cool.
What's your plans for the money?
Probably invest it, have a little bit of fun, play some more poker tournaments with it. So probably fly down to Florida and play the next Heartland down there in a month or so, whenever it is, down in Daytona.
There you go. Good
So-
idea. Our new second place finisher, Mark Morris. Let's give him a round of applause, guys. Second place for Mark. All right, come on in for me. All right, thank you.
All right,
Nice
thank you.
job. Mark? Nice job. All right, this side for you. Ready? Right over here. Don't smile too much,
I'm just thrilled to be here.
All right, guys, I'm here with our first place finisher, our new HPT. Restart, he said. Yep. I'm here with our new HPT champion, Wendy Friedman. Now, Wendy, tell me about that last hand there.
It was pretty simple. I had kings and I raised on the button, and he had a really good hand, pocket 8s, which I would have gone broke with too.
Yeah.
And all the chips went in the pot.
Yeah, you played great throughout the day. Now, you started this final table first in chips. A lot of great competition. At what point today or yesterday did you say to yourself you were going to win this event?
I only ever said I was going to try as hard as I could. You know, a lot of stuff can happen in poker tournaments, so I'm glad I could pull it off.
Absolutely. Did you have fun throughout the final table at least?
Yeah, absolutely.
You played great throughout the day. You're still walking away with almost $168,000 in cash. What's your plans for the money?
What he said.
What he said, invested? Anything else? Other poker tournaments?
Yeah, well, I will be playing poker tournaments for sure. You know, life expenses, stuff like that.
There you have it, our new HPT champion, Wendy Friedman. Back to you guys.
All right, Jeremy, thank you very much. A
job.
tremendous final table here. Probably as good, as well-played a final table as we've seen here on the HPT in a while. Not a whole lot of outrageous silliness. And a couple of coolers, including the ones right at the end there with the 8s against the kings. And like you heard Mark say, it's going to be set over set on the flop, and they were both going to get it all in. And if you lose with a full house, heads up, it pretty much means you weren't meant to win this one. But congratulations again. Wendy Friedman now over $1.1 million in career tournament earnings with her victory today. and our first HPT female main event champion in about 5 years. We're going to have to get, we give away the Citizen Echo Drive watch. We're going to have to get a women's watch, I think, now and then, because that's a men's watch I know we have right there. We're a sexist company. Dang, I'm just kidding. Congratulations to Wendy. And very proud of her as I've followed her career the last half dozen years or so, being able to pull off this major title, her second major title of the year. Of course, you recall she won her third WSOP circuit ring back in March. So, for all of us here on the Heartland Poker Tour and at the Blackhawk Golden Gates Casino, Jeremy Smith and Corey Stewart, and a cast of thousands behind the scenes, I'm Dominic Siebert. We'll see you next time on the Heartland Poker Tour.